All right, we want to welcome everybody back. So now we're going to get into talking about the final product. And Jaden, I'm wondering if you could actually pull up the let's pull up the concert band video that we did, and then also I think it'd be great to show a little bit of the video that we shot with Gordon and some of our other producers earlier on. So if you could work on getting those teed up, that would be great. And just let me know when those are ready. But Daniel, kind of would love for you to take the lead here and talk about really the process of getting from now that we've gotten the rehearsal done and we've gotten the audio tracks edited into something that sounds like a finished product, being able to take that audio and combining it with a video to create a performance and what that looks like. Actually, Jaden, do you have one of those ready that you could show?
Yeah, what was that again? It was the final performance, or?
Yeah, I think the performance video of Lone Peak Wind Ensemble would be fantastic.
Lone Peak, yeah. Let me pull that up real quick.
Okay, great. And so, as you can imagine, in the same fashion that the musicians have to record their audio individually at home, they also, if they're in a, working remotely, they're going to have to actually shoot the video from home independently as well. And so in the same way we took the audio tracks and combined those into a finished product, we need to actually grab video from each of the musicians and put that together into a final product with the audio. Now, while James pulling this up, I'll tell you that you obviously have a couple options. You can try to have the musicians record themselves and film at the same time. That's definitely not something I would recommend, because remember, these recordings that they've been working on towards their final performance are recordings that they've been making corrections on and adding to and moving around for many weeks before you get the final audio product. So what we absolutely recommend as far as a procedure is to take that final audio, get it mixed, mastered, send it back to the students, and then have them shoot video of themselves playing along with that final recording. It definitely makes it easier in the video editing process if the video that they shoot has if you can hear the audio on it, it makes it easier for you if you're editing the video, or whoever you hire to do that, makes it much easier for them to lock in that performance with the audio track. Jaden, do you have that pulled up?
I do, yeah.
Okay. And what might be interesting, Jaden, is before you play that, are you able to possibly pull up the band lab session for Lone Peak High School so they can hear? I'd love for them to hear the difference between the raw audio from the unmixed, unmastered performance, and then compare that to the audio with the performance video after it's been engineered.
Definitely, yeah. Let me pull this up. So I'll share this. Okay, so if we take a look here, so here's a band lab session that we had. This was the percussion, and then we did what we call a mix down of all of the different other sections, like the brass, the woodwinds. And so if I listen, and I already know, I've done this a few times, I already know that the crash and snare are a little too loud. So you can adjust the volume here. If we listen, here's the reference track that's muted. We have a couple of mixes where we've actually completed this, but this is the raw audio. So this has been, this is all the raw tracks. This is pre-mixing, everything kind of that we've talked about with the audio engineering. This mix 4 was the final result. Sounds a lot more reel with that extra, some of those extra effects. So then let me share my other screen, and we'll show you what it looks like with the video as well.
Great. And then, Jaden, if you can pull up that other video of the Soundhouse producers, that would be great.
The TOP?
Yeah, that would be great. I just want to make a few comments on that, and then we'll watch a little bit of another video, and then Daniel would love for you to talk to the directors about if they were going to edit different types of software that they would need and the process for that. So we'll turn the time over to you here in just a minute. And I'm going to get lost as to the point I was going to make about that video. Let's see, what was I going to say? I don't know, I'm lost. Now that I made the assignments, I was giving the assignments so I could talk about it. But, you know, I think, oh, I know what I was going to say. So one thing that we've gotten better at as we've gotten further along in this process is treating these videos as a performance. And so that video that you saw, we created very early in the process as we were testing out this idea of running rehearsals online with concert bands and orchestras and choirs, not just the jazz bands and pop groups that we've done previously. And so one of the things that I would strongly encourage you educators to do is to really take the same type of preparation and care that you would for a live performance and put that into the video. So what do I mean by that? Well, you know, one thing that we've gotten a lot better at is to actually give coaching on what that video should look like. How should the students be framed? What's the angle of the camera? Is it going to be portrait or is it going to be landscape so that they all look the same and it's easy to edit? What should be in the background? You know, we don't want the dirty laundry and the crying baby in the background here. And if we have a performance uniform, like let's put on our performance uniforms, you know. And so actually preparing for a performance, even though it's videoed at home, really can add a lot to the actual performance itself. Yeah, I think just wanted to make that suggestion there. I would certainly encourage you educators to create a style guide that you give to your students of this is, you know, what it should look like, what you should wear, whatever it is, so you get some kind of consistency and encourage them to actually perform. Certainly it looks much more enjoyable, it's much more fun to watch if the musicians are engaged with their performance rather than just, you know, sitting there staring blankly into space. Also, you know, something as important as if it's a saxophone player, for example, you want to be able to see their hands, not just their mouth. Then there's nothing happening in the video, right? So being able to articulate those types of things is great. Gordon, you want to talk about your light there?
Yeah, well, this is called a ring light, and it's pretty inexpensive, and it makes all the difference. Right now, I would look so much better if I was photographed with this light on me. And so I try to encourage the people, the bands that I'm working with, to invest in one of these. It's like $60, you know, ranges from $50 to $80 for this thing. And, you know, it's not plugged in right now, but you have 3 or 4 different shades of lighting that you can choose. And this is video. And so we want to try to eliminate, like the Fat Man guys shot some video, and I couldn't believe some of the amateur stuff I got, where they had, like, look at the background behind me, way too busy. There's too much stuff back there. Some guys shot video like this, facing this way, so the light of their computer screen was shining into the video. Also not good. A neutral background is probably best, because really what we want to see the student, we want to see the musician. Best case scenario, depending on how elaborate you want to go, you get a close-up of their hands. Maybe a couple of different angles. And so it depends on how elaborate you feel you want to get. But I think Caleb's right. Giving them a list of procedures, and don't leave it up to them just to throw the iPhone up and do it, is the best way to get good results. Yeah.
Another thing that's I think everybody's kind of figured out at this point is, you know, you don't want a window behind you, or it's just, you're a shadow, you're just a silhouette. I mean, you're blown out. We're getting a lot of questions about cost and timing on this, and we'll definitely share some of our experience with you on that after we wrap up the process here and talking about. Jaden, do you have that other video ready?
There we go. And I should unmute myself when I talk. I do, yeah. Let me pull it up. Share my screen again.
And we don't need to show the whole thing on this. Maybe just up to maybe like some of the first solos or something.
Okay.
So this is a video we shot very early on with several of our Soundhouse producers on one of Gordon's tunes. Thanks, Jade. One thing I wanted to demonstrate again, just to hit it home on that, was, what you were hearing was a big band, and of course you saw one trumpet. And that's the beauty of working in this format, is that Wayne was able to record all the trumpet parts, right? And Francisco and Wycliffe Gordon together each recorded a couple of the trombone parts. And Gordon, when you and I talked way back in April, March even, and I was explaining this, what I was envisioning for this to you, I remember the first thing you said is, you said, "Oh, so it's just like how we're doing all the sessions these days, it's no different than that." And I thought that was, really interesting, because this is really where we're at in music making today, but yet we aren't addressing any of this. We wouldn't be addressing any of this if we weren't forced to by COVID.
Interesting comment, yeah. And sometimes we do have to be nudged by our circumstances into growth. And I think that's kind of what's happened here.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to get into talking about this final process of creating the video. And Daniel, we've got a lot of questions about this. I think Daniel is uniquely qualified to talk about this, because he's actually edited a lot of videos over the last several months and had zero experience before. So Daniel, can you take everybody through the process of what this would entail as far as being able to put the video together and to edit it?
Yeah, my apologies. I'm having some camera troubles, so we'll just have to go like this for now. But yeah, so once you have the final mastered audio and you've collected all the video clips from your students. Yes.
Let's back up for just a second. So, if I'm the director, I've got all the audio done. Obviously, I've sent the audio to the students. They filmed the video. How am I going to collect the video files from each of the students? What's the easiest way to do that?
Right. So I've used several of the cloud storage services, from Dropbox to Google Drive to Mega, and they all work for this. With each of those, you can create what's called a file request, where you can just send one link out to all your students, and it just gives them a space to upload the video, and then it'll all collect it into a folder of your choice. So they won't be able to see each other's videos or anything, but you'll have them all in one place. And then you can just download them from there. And that's what I've found to be the simplest process.
Great. Okay. And then, so moving on from there, now you've collected all the video from your students. And again, guys, make this easy on yourselves. Make sure that you're encouraging the students, when they're filming themselves, to record the audio of the track, so that it's easy to line up the video, sync it with the audio.
Yes. And I do have some video recording guidelines, just like a tip sheet pretty much, that we could send out as well, that kind of covers all those bases.
Great.
Okay, so the next step would be to have software that you do your editing in. Now the good news is that a lot of school districts already have plans with companies like Adobe, so that you can use their apps for no additional cost. So the software I use is called Adobe Premiere. There's other options as well that are perfectly valid as well, such as Final Cut, which is a Mac exclusive. But for example, my school district, when I started working with this software in high school, did have a plan with Adobe, and so just logging into the site with your school email, you're able to use all the Adobe apps for free, which includes more than just Premiere. You can use Photoshop and anything else you might need. Okay. So after you've downloaded all of the clips and the audio, I'll share my screen here. So I have a Premiere open right here. And I'll just show a quick example of just a snippet of the process of working on this video, so you can kind of see the logic behind what's going on. So without explaining too much, I know the interface and such might look a bit complicated right now, but I'll try to keep it simple. So first I'll drop in my audio, and this, by the way, is from one of Gordon's bands. This is Hunting Wabbits. You can kind of see. Can you hear the audio from that?
We can't, no.
Oh, you cannot? Okay.
When you share your screen, did you remember to click the audio share?
Okay, it should be selected here. Okay. Can you hear that?
It's very quiet.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, yeah, that'll work well enough for now. Okay, so I'll take one of these video clips. Say I'll take the berry, and I'll drop that in here, and you can see here's his video right here. And so what I'll do is I'll find somewhere in the berry clip, in the audio of the berry clip, I should say, where he's playing something, just a part in the music that I can align to the mix. So like right there, for example, he's playing the first note. So what I can do is I can leave a marker right here, and then I can put a marker on the same place in the mix. So that's about right here. So I can leave a marker.
Daniel, are
in the
you
same
able
place.
to turn it up at all? Because we're having some of the participants say they can't hear it at all.
Let me see here.
I'm wondering if when you did the screen share, if you clicked the share the audio.
It should be enabled, but let me try this. Is that any better?
It's still just really quiet, but I think that
What I'll go ahead and do. Yeah, what I'll go ahead and do is turn on my speakers here, so maybe you can hear it through the mic. A little better, maybe.
Yeah, then we can hear that.
Okay. So yeah, now that I have put a marker on some place in the mix, and I've put a marker at the same place on the berries video, I can just align them automatically like this. So now the markers are in the same place, therefore the audio is lined up and the video is lined up as well. And this is why it's so important to record with audio when you're doing your final video for this. And you can even see on the waveforms if they're lining up. So this may be a couple of frames ahead, so I'll just nudge that over. And now you can see the waveforms right here on the mix and the berry are now lined up. Okay. So that's the first step of the process, is just getting everything lined up, and then getting into the actual editing. I guess this might be easier just to explain verbally here, but you can see on here's the final video of Hunting Wabbits that I edited. I'll show you just a few seconds of it here. Can you see that?
We cannot see it, but now we can hear it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was sharing the wrong screen here. Okay, you can see that now.
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. So that's an example of the final product that you might see. So essentially what I've done here, I have all the clips lined up to the audio, and so I can just cut them up and move them to a certain place in the screen. And I've designed these border designs, which you can see here, which I think just helps add a layer of polish, and it makes it a little easier to edit as well. But you essentially just repeat that process, moving these different clips where you want them, and do that for the whole song, and then you have your video pretty much. So conceptually, it is pretty simple, but definitely from experience, like all the steps of this process, from the mixing, mastering, and the video editing, it does take a large amount of time. And this is where I think using external editors is a really good way to go, which EdTech offers here.
Yeah, so we had some of you asking the question about how many hours does this take. Thankfully, I have not had to try to do it myself, but we did, talking to a lot of educators that tried to tackle this last year with concert bands and symphony orchestras. The numbers we were hearing were anywhere from 50 to 150 hours for a song. Obviously, it's not feasible for most educators. Learning how to get the tracks in BandLab and things like that, at least it's in our wheelhouse as music educators. Video editing, I wouldn't even know where to start with this stuff, and I wouldn't want to try. So that's why we really felt it was important to introduce this EdTech service where you can outsource to Soundhouse to do these videos for you. And there's also a lot of other services that you can Google online. Somebody was asking about the general cost with Soundhouse EdTech, the ballpark is going to be, $500 to $800 for a finished video track with the audio engineering and things like that. Some of the other services are about $30 per musician. So if you had 50 people in your ensemble, it'd be about $1,500 to do it. So, as far as Soundhouse EdTech is concerned, we're trying to keep it as affordable and realistic as we can, but you can see it's obviously a pretty involved process. But it's absolutely critical that we have, as educators, that we have this performance piece of it. So I would encourage all of you to either learn, teach yourself how to do video editing, which is exactly what Daniel did. So it's definitely doable, but realize it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's worth it if we can give our students the opportunity to have a performance, right? So.
And hey, one more quick point I wanted to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
So with video editing, it's a very it potentially can be a very hardware intensive task, right? Particularly when there are so many different layers of videos at the same time. Like in this example, I have 20 layers of videos going on. And this is another reason why I think it makes sense to do this through EdTech in case you don't have a very powerful computer, essentially. And I know, we don't always have that luxury. But the editors with Soundhouse do for sure have the hardware to handle this amount of videos, especially when we get into like 50, 60 people in an ensemble, which would be very large, obviously, but or even more than that, then it can be an issue with hardware. So just something to keep in mind.
Thanks, Daniel. And I noticed we're joined by Dr. Peter Boonshaft, the legend himself. Peter, thanks for joining us today. And I know, we're excited to hear from you in the breakout sessions coming up here.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
But we've just been talking, as you heard, about the, we've kind of been taking everybody today through the process from the beginning of setting up their rehearsal tracks and running their rehearsals online, and sectionals and the audio mixing and then the video. And you know, your wife is a director that had the experience of putting together a performance video last year. And a lot of our participants today have been asking kind of what time is involved with editing a video. Would you mind sharing, you know, her experience first?
No, I'd be pleased to. It's enormous. My wife is very tech savvy, so it was not like me where I'm limited by my inabilities. She's very good with that, and she, as many people, needed to produce something. She needed to do it for her kids because they wanted something. She needed for the administrators and the school system, who wanted something to be able to basically brag to the community that they had done this. And it does look very good. And it was a great memento for the kids. And they felt very good about it. And so the pros of doing it are very, very many. I remember her telling me several students who said, "Look, I'm on TV. I'm in a movie. I'm famous," kind of thing. And they
Right.
felt really good about it, even though we know pedagogically it's kind of an extrinsic motivation, but it's still there. And for a superintendent to put it on the website of the school district, which they did, et cetera, those kind of things. So it's really needed for many reasons. The problem is the amount of time. We tried to figure it out, and we guessed that it was well over, and I think well over 100 hours of time to do a basic audio video I'm going to guess it was about a 4-minute piece, something like that. It was enormous. It was unending because she thought she was done with it. Then she had to go back and do something else. And then she had to go back and do something else. The end product was very, very nice. I will say it was terrific, but it was over 100 hours. And in this environment, I don't know any teacher that has that surplus of hours, because we're all scurrying to find different things, different ways, different techniques. So to take that out of your already swamped schedule, I think is crazy. And this is such a wonderful way to do it, where you still have the input, you still have the pedagogical backing with it, and all of the aesthetic things about it, and the extrinsic motivation things, but you don't have to put in well over 100 hours for just one 3 or 4 5-minute piece.
Great. Thanks, Peter. I appreciate that. Daniel, before we wrap up with this section and move on to our next guest here today, would you mind just commenting a little bit, once your video is done, where it gets hosted and what makes sense in that regard?
Yeah. So there are several different places where you could host or publish your video, depending on what you intend to do with it. There are services like Vimeo, things like that. Most of my experience is with YouTube, which is where we publish Soundhouse music videos. This is useful if you want it to be public. It's also, if you don't want it to be public, it's easy to send an unlisted link to everyone in your band so they can see it, but in case you don't want it to be public. Yeah, is there anything else you want to know about it?
That's great. Andrew, are you with us on the line right now? Looks like he's unmuted there. He may not be. I wanted to have Andrew comment just a little bit on the issue of sync licenses. He did touch on that earlier. It is something to be aware of, that once you do record music and put it with video, then there are separate issues on royalties, and there's a sync license required. As Andrew mentioned earlier, we like to use the Spin network to post our music videos, because once you post the videos there, it doesn't cost you anything to do it, and they actually cover the cost of the sync licenses. The way it's covered, though, is that for people to view your video, there's a small subscription fee. So if you were to put out, all your videos for the year for your school on the Spin network, you wouldn't have any liability, and you would be covered legally to post them there. But the parents and people like that would have to pay that small subscription fee. When you post stuff on YouTube, we post all of our videos there. There is the chance that we may be asked to take them down. That has never happened. But if they did, we would of course have our videos hosted on the Spin network where the royalties and sync licenses are covered. So that's just something to be aware of and cognizant of. Okay, at this point, first of all, I want to thank all of our panelists today that have joined us up to this point, and all of those of you that have stuck with us for these many hours. We've really gone through a lot of detail stuff, and you've been wonderful hanging with us for this entire time. We're actually going to momentarily move to a different meeting room. And Emma is going to come on and make sure everybody knows where to go to finish out the remainder of the day. We're going to move from this webinar format into a meeting format so we can do breakout sessions, starting with our next guest. And I want to introduce her. But once again, before we go, I want to thank Andrew, Daniel, everybody that's joined us throughout the day, Dr. Fulmer, Dr. Larson, and everybody, Emma, Jaden, all the people that have contributed today. It's just been a fantastic session, and even though I've been here from the beginning, I'm always still learning about this process and enjoying it, and especially my good friend Gordon Goodwin for all of his comments today. So thank you, Gordon. Our next guest, before we go into discipline breakout sessions for our last hour, is one of the people I'm most excited about hearing from today, and I know you will too. Alyssa Jones is going to be joining us to talk about a very critical, important topic, very timely in today's environment, which is culturally responsive music. She's founder principal at Jones Creative and Consulting LLC, a former program director for performing arts for the Boston Public Schools, my hometown. So love that. Alyssa has tremendous experience in working in the education management industry, and she's skilled in teacher training, educational technology, performing arts, music education, editing, and public speaking. And just so you know, Soundhouse will be offering an additional free webinar with Alyssa on the topic she's covering today on Tuesday, October 13th from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be sending out more information on that webinar. So you don't need to stress about that too much, but if you do want to mark it on your calendars now, again, that's October 13th from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're really excited to hear from Alyssa next.